So 2-1 is called solving equations. We have already solved equations, but this section will talk about solving different kinds of equations and give you tips on how to solve different types. When you solve an equation, there are 3 possibilities for solutions. Alright, so there are 3 different types of possibilities for solutions. That means when you solve it out, your last line has 3 possibilities. The first possibility is it's going to have some variable like x is equal to 3. So it's going to have a variable and it's going to equal some number. So you'll have some variable equal some number, right? That means that the solution to the problem is 3. If you plug in 3 to both sides, it will equal. Because remember, equation means that it equals, right? Number 2, the second type of solutions will be that you'll end up with 0 equals 0. You literally will solve it all out and you'll get the last row will say 0 equals 0. What does that mean? Has anybody in a previous class ever saw 0 equals 0? And do you remember what it means? It means infinitely many solutions. So that means that anything that you put into the equation will make it true. All right? And the last type that we will see is you'll have a number like 3 and that will equal 4. However, we know 3 does not equal 4. So you would simply put a line through it and say not equal to, but then what does that tell us? No solution is right. So you're always wanting to look for those 3 possibilities. So it's going to be a variable, and this right here, remember, is any number. It'll come down to a number, and it'll say equals another number. Which we know that can never happen. So the 3 equals 4, it's not always going to be 3 and 4. It could be 5 and 7, but it's going to be some number, and it's going to equal a different number, and that will be no solution. All right. Examples. Your first example we have is 3/7 x plus 1/7 is equal to 3/14. Now, I really want to stress to you, this is Algebra 2, and all of you, or I should say most of you, because if you're a senior you don't have to, but all of you, except for if you're a senior, will have to take another math class. If you do not write your equations like this, if you are in the habit still of doing this, I want you to right now erase it and rewrite it to be 3/7. It is very important that you write it this way, for it will make a difference throughout the rest of the year. So I know it's going to be hard at first, but I expect everyone to be writing it this way, not that way. All right? Why is that? If you write it like this in front of here, sometimes it's going to be hard to tell where the x falls. Make sure you also notice that there is a space between there so that you know that x. And now, is x on the top or x on the bottom, really? It is on the top, is right. So just so you know, that x, you could pretend that it's x/1. Very good. All right, so this is how, remember, that I want to see your fractions looking. Now, does anybody know or think about how we could get rid of these fractions? So if we wanted to get rid of these fractions to solve this out, what maybe is a good way to do it?
You could multiply the 3/7 and 1/7
Okay, so you can find a common denominator. You could do that. But the thing that might make it easier is same concept as we are going to multiply, but we're going to multiply everything by something that gets rid of the fraction. All right. So if you think about 7 and 14, what number could we multiply by that both of those go into that would get rid of my fraction? Well, we have to have a big number because 14 has to go into it. So it is 14. So 14, because when you do this now, and I'm going to show you all of it, so we have to distribute that 14 to each one of these. Remember, so we're using the distributive property to each one. So we're going to go 14 times 3/7 x plus my, whoops, what are they? 14, because I'm distributing, times my 1/7 equals my 14 times my 3/14. Now, once you get into this habit, you do not have to write this line because literally I do not write this line. I just write the next line that's going to be. So all I did is I'm taking 14 and I'm multiplying it to each one of these. So how many times does 7 go into 14? Twice. So it goes into the twice. So 2 times 3 is 6. So I have 6x. 7 goes into 14 twice. So I have a 2 plus 2 equals, and I'm going to cross that 14 out. So that goes into it once. 1 times 3 gives me 3. Now we have no fractions. Now we're exactly where we started. Now, this is just a trick. If you want to if you don't want to do it this way, you can do the common denominator. You can go and you can add your fractions together. It's up to you on how you solve these out. To me, if it's like this, this is the way I would always do it because that's the easiest way. So then we can simply subtract our 2. We have 6x is equal to my 1. And my last step is to divide by my 6. So x is equal to 1/6. Oh, well, yeah, it's... Thank you. Because if I say it, I want you. If I have you do it, I want to do it too. So, all right. So now that is the first one. All right. So I'm gonna Anybody not have this? All right.
All that math over.
Well, it's a bigger problem, so. All right, example 2. I know, isn't it? It's long. I'm serious. I'm sorry, but it is true. But luckily, I think there's only 1 or 2 problems like this on your assignment. When you have this problem, the first glance, I looked at it and I said, oh, there's fractions. I might want to multiply by a certain number. But then I realized that this 1/3 goes into these 2 numbers, so when I distribute, the fraction's going to be gone. The same thing over here. When I distribute this 1/7, the fraction's going to be gone. So at this case, I wouldn't want to do that little extra on multiplication, so I'm just going to distribute at this time. So remember that when you distribute, you want to distribute to everything in the parentheses. So we have 1/3 times my 12x gives me my 4x plus 11 is right. And then the parenthesis is gone, so now I can bring down my minus 10. And now I want you guys to see what you think the right-hand side is. So I want you to try the right-hand side the exact same way as I just did the left. All right, Logan, tell me the first two things on this right-hand side. So what you're doing is you go 14. Logan, you're going 14. And when you're multiplying by 1/7, it's like the same as dividing by 7. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. So I have 2x. And then this would be, for you have negative 21 divided by 7. Negative 3. Andrew, what did you have for the last two? Plus 6x. Plus 15. All right. Then at this point, what you want to do is you want to clean up the left side and clean up the right side. So we're going to clean up the left side together. So cleaning up the left side. These two are like terms, so I can combine them. So I have 4x, and I have plus 1. And I want you now to clean up your right side. So now I want you to clean up your right side. You get it.
I got the answer.
Okay.
I think I
All right, Ian. What do you got?
I got 8x plus 12.
8x plus 12 is right. After that, we want to always get our x's to one side. And I always get my x's to the left side. If you took it to the right, that's okay. But I always take it to my left side. So I'm going to subtract my 8x. So I get my negative 4x plus 1 is equal to my 12. Subtract 1. And then the last one is divide by negative 4. So my solution is x is equal to a negative 11 over 4, or if you put it in your calculator, negative 2.75. All right, I want you guys to try one. And I want you to try it all the way out to the end. So you have 4 times the quantity, 7 minus 2x, end of the parentheses, equals negative 8 times the quantity, x minus 1. Yep. All right, Tristan, walk me through how, oh, you're still doing it? Okay, since there's only a few minutes, just tell me what the first thing, Tristan, and then I'll go to someone else. What's the first thing, your first line, what do you have to do? Very good. So your first line, you guys should have got was your 28 minus 8x is equal to the same over here. You have negative 8x plus 8. All right. Then what do we have to do, class? Subtract the 8x. Or I mean add the 8x, so we're adding the 8x. So we have 28 equals 8. False. So what does that mean? No solution. All right. We have the principle of zero product. All right. What does that mean? That means if you have A times B, which equals 0, that is only true if and only if A equals 0 or B equals 0. So we have x plus 4 is times the quantity x minus 2 is equal to 0. That means what? That means that this has to be equal to 0 or this has to be equal to 0. Yes, 32. All right, guys, enjoy your lunch.